Dr. Ernest Holmes says on page 36, one of the first lessons in the Science of Mind textbook, the Spirit can make no gift that we do not accept. Okay. What are you accepting this morning? If you have a challenge in your life, you're accepting the answer to it. If you have something that you need to release and replace it with something beautiful, then I'll ask yourself, am I really accepting it? I want to extend an invitation because we just had 4 weeks with seminar lectures. It was absolutely wonderful. I love that book and I love that work, and I celebrate many of you who were there with me on this. But I had 4 weeks, which meant 4 hours, and then we did a healing mission after the thing. So it was a wonderful experience for the 4 weeks. Anyhow, I'm doing it as a second-year class this year. And I would like to invite any of you, especially practitioners or anyone who's been studying this a while, because are we ever going to go into an in-depth experience with this book, and we're going to be able to explore it in an in-depth way over an entire unit for 2.5 hours once a week, and then challenge ourselves to really move forward with the growth of it. This was a great lesson, a series of lessons that Dr. Holmes gave to practitioners and ministers. It was an advanced class he gave at Camp Sierra in 1953. He says on page 59 of the seminar lectures, we say that mountains show forth the glory of God, but it isn't that way. The mountains are the glory of God in the same sense that Einstein tells us that energy and mass are equal, identical, and interchangeable. See, your thought and the things of your life are identical. And what we do as religious scientists is we wake up and realize that if we are thinking about it, you see, if we think about the idea that this quote from Einstein, we begin to realize that this power works for us, and it works for us by working through us, and it works in us. And when does it do it? Everybody repeat after me. Always. See, not just sometime, all the time. All the time it is what it is. You see, this is the major premise of the Science of Mind philosophy. If God is the only reality and the world and we live and move and have our being in exist, then it exists how? It exists for our own celebration of glory because we understand it is God expressing. Everything is God expressing. The definition of whether it's good, bad, right, wrong, happy, unhappy is where? See, in us, not in it. Okay. It's the eye of the beholder. Now, here's the premise. We have a human philosophy. The human philosophy is something that we can adapt. We could either have a philosophy based on the world, or we can have a philosophy based on the greatest thinkers who ever lived. And the greatest thinkers who ever lived have taught us, if you go, for example, to India, you find out that what the philosophy, the basic philosophy in India is, whatever a divine being or a devata is, whatever that is, which means desire. Everybody say desire. There's nothing wrong with desire. See? Everybody say divine urge. I know I had an argument once with somebody who was following a philosophy that says, get rid of all your desires. And I looked at him and said, that's a desire. All right. Everyone say, I can't use a desire to get rid of a desire. All right. Now, the challenge is that the very thing that is divine is the human experience. This is what all the great teachers have taught. This is what Thomas Trord and Ernest Holmes embodied and put in the language of today. So it could do what? So it could be applied to the experience of today. Not worshiping that somebody knew it then. Our challenge is to know what we can know now. You see, every week, you come here, and whether you're hearing me or Reverend Lacey, Reverend Dar, Reverend Jane, Reverend Mary Jo, Reverend Dr. Cynthia, you will find that every week you get great details and guidance as we do what? as we explain what principle is and how we can use it and how we can apply it. And you will also receive countless examples of how to do it. How many have heard an example that woke you up to the other information you had, and all of a sudden it fell in place because of the example? You see, this is our challenge. Our challenge is not just to intellectualize it, but to do what? I can give you an intellectual presentation, but what we want to do is not only intellectualize it, but paint a picture to put the intellect into it, so that you become an artist, the art of thinking, the art of being. See? And it's wonderful that I'm coming up with this, because we got one of the finest artists in Northern California who's singing for us this morning. How many have some of her paintings in your house? I do too. So now, everyone say, I get to learn what to do, how to do it. I get to learn how to discover myself and do something wonderful with the discovery. Now, you get to learn that if you do what? If you allow yourself to be teachable. See? Everybody say, when I empty my cup, then I have room to put something else in it. See, that's teachability. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. The meek are the teachable. How many have been around the unteachable? Don't confuse me, my mind's made up. Okay. If it was good enough for daddy and granddaddy and great-granddaddy, who was it that said, while we're, firing rockets off to Mars, there's still people smoking the pipe of the flat earth. Dr. Holmes said once, when they discovered the world was round, there were still people who believed it was flat, so their belief didn't flatten out the world, but it did give them a flat experience on the world, in the world. How many have had a flat experience? How many rounded it off and found an answer? You see, our challenge over and over again is to understand, and I can put it in first person because, Cher's here, our head practitioner, our other ministers are here, Reverend Jane is here, others are here. We want each of our students to explore, we want them to develop, we want them to utilize what? Infinite principle. Explore and utilize infinite principle. As teachers of religious science, science of mind, we want our students to do something wonderful, and that is to find the experience within themselves to begin to celebrate the convergence of ideas, the convergence of what they understood up to now, and blend that with what they can understand. See, that's growth, isn't it? And it's never too late to grow. It's never too late to know more. It's never too late to change your mind and change your life.